Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Wanita Mercer. I'm your workplace survival ace, and I'm here to give a response to Netflix's company culture guidelines. Oh, I did it the other day, and I was not satisfied with how it looked and everything. So I'm hoping today goes much smoother. I'm big on excellence, so I definitely wanted to give you the best of me. And so today we're talking about Netflix's company culture guidelines. I don't know if you have seen the headlines, but Netflix is in some trouble. And even though your company's troubles may not be in the headlines, I assure you that you're probably sharing a lot of their pain that they're dealing with right now. And not only are they dealing with lots of financial losses, but also having losing their workforce. And now, in response to all of that, though, they're coming forth and telling their employees that you can quit your job if you don't like the content, if you don't agree. Well, that's an interesting response to the already hardships that this company is going through. And so I definitely want to acknowledge the fact that this isn't the best leadership approach, definitely. And so hope Netflix company leaders get to see this as I try to give them some help and instruction as to how to lead people through this. But certainly, I know that this is going to be. Some great information for leaders who are dealing with the same type of issues in their organization. But first, I want to talk to the employees and let you know that hey, you've you've always had the right to quit. That isn't anything new. You've always had the right to quit. You still have the right to quit. You'll always have the right to quit in the future. But I do want to acknowledge the fact that I don't think that this will be the last time we hear things like this in the headlines. More companies coming forth, giving ultimatums basically to employees, blaming cultural, misfits on employees and wanting to hopefully just get rid of them. Well, it was vaccinations not long ago, causing a lot of discomfort in the workplace and people being faced with leaving their job. I'm not given, basically, not given any other um, alternatives, basically, to it. And regardless of where you fit or sit with this whole idea of mandatory vaccinations, my point here is that there's always gonna be something, and I think we're gonna be seeing more and more of this, unfortunately, especially in the times that we're living in. Vaccinations may not be your issue. Content may not be your issue, but your issue is coming. And I just want to encourage people, especially believers in the workplace, that, you know, you're always going to be faced with some type of dilemma, right? How will you deal with it? And unfortunately, walking away from your job might be one of those consequences that you're facing. Um, if you kind of see the writing on the wall in this and you just don't feel like there's going to be any way around it, start preparing now. Pray, ask God to lead you as to how to do that. But, start saving money now, start building connections now, start looking for those greater opportunities now rather than waiting until you're faced with, no other option. So, again, if you're kind of reading the room and seeing that this might be where our company is going, then certainly begin preparing now. Now, getting back to the leaders, I want to talk to you all. But, my first question here is I'm reading through everything with Netflix. And the first question I had was, why does Netflix insist on building teams with disgruntled people? Right? Because basically, they're saying you have to stay and commit to working on stuff you don't want to work on. But, you don't like it, you don't want to do it, but you have to stay and work that way or leave. But that's not the only option here. Netflix, you do not want to build teams around projects, especially if that's your company model with disgruntled employees. because that is going to impact the work that they do. We know this, right? This isn't rocket science. Um, so for you leaders out there, don't do this. Don't follow in Netflix's footsteps by building teams with disgruntled people. So I'm here to really help you with that because the truth is, telling people to quit is a lazy approach to fixing corporate culture. It is a leadership fail. It really is. If that is where the conversation leads to, where you're basically telling people to quit and leave so that make your job easier, that's a leadership fail. And so that doesn't have to be the last, resort or even the first resort to fixing this problem. The point is to really like focus in on calling a membership. I am a spiritual leadership guru. I really believe in it. I've seen the research. I've done the research. I see the implications for how it can truly transform and transpose a workplace. And so calling and membership, calling, engaging work, making sure that people have a sense of purpose with their work that they do in the workplace, but also feeling that sense of community and belonging in the workplace place. Those are two crucial things that you must also, always make sure that you're nurturing from a leadership standpoint. So I've talked a lot about what you need to do, but guess what? I'm not going to leave it there. I'm going to give you 10 tips on how to do it. 10 tips for leading employees with content conflict. And that's what I'm calling it, content conflict, because it can, you know, manifest in different ways. But with Netflix's issue, I think it's just a good way for us to coin that term here, content conflict. So let's talk more about that. Number one, leaders, own your role in this. This just isn't on the employee. You're basically telling the employee, be glad you have a job. This is a job, do the job, which is true. It is. I will say that. Um, but leaders, you also have to acknowledge the fact that your recruitment practices are lagging. Your recruitment practices do not now fit your vision for the company or your current mission. And so you need to update your recruitment practices because the truth of the matter is, in the case of Netflix, they're wanting to be the leader in diversified, highly representative content, right? But also equates in this environment of being very controversial as well, right? Let's be honest. It's hard to be innovative and the leader in something and not also be controversial. And so, that's what they're facing, that they're wanting to be the leaders in this, and yet they have a workforce that's not keeping up with that, which a lot of companies are dealing with. So that's okay, right? But how do you lead people through that? So you first have to own your role in it and also look at your recruitment practices and say, okay, how do we find people who are going to be better suited for what we're wanting to do with this? But when you have the infrastructure um, for projects within your company, I think you're missing out on an opportunity here to really do something great. And that is number two, commit to working together to build excellent teams. Okay, that should be the focus here, not the problem, but the opportunity that leaders and followers must commit to working together. To do what? Build excellent teams, not mediocre teams, not a team, just to say you have one to get something accomplished, but excellent teams, because that should be the goal of every organization is to do things in excellence. Number three, how you do this is by aligning people, their passions, and the project. It's very straightforward. Okay, again, this is where calling comes into place and membership. Align people with their passions, their history, their experiences, their opinions, their perspectives, their knowledge, their education, okay, their relationships. Align those with the projects. So then all of a sudden, you have people that want to be there, who want to do it and excited about it, right? Rather than forcing and just assigning random people to a project. And then number 4, recognize that there's still a place for the disgruntled employees. And that is by appreciating the alternative views and perspectives that they bring to the table, by making sure that you are meeting the needs of those perspectives. Perhaps they're presenting an angle that you haven't yet considered in that project, being the devil's advocate, if you will. And when people are being the devil's advocate, okay, for lack of a better, word right now, or presenting that alternative view, you get to um, meet the needs. You get to kind of sort through the details of your project and make sure that you're attacking this thing from all angles, right? You may even be able to write a better script or create a better product because you're considering those alternative views. And that's so important. Okay, you don't have to dismiss them, you just find a place for them. Number 5, build bridges, not islands. And that's what Netflix is doing. They're focused on, islands. Like, you just want people to work in isolation, just do their job instead of saying, let me meet you where you are. Let me build a bridge to where you are, right? To see how I can help cultivate you and your presence here in the organization. Because there's that sense of community that needs to exist. If people feel like islands, right, that they're going to operate that way. And if the company presents themselves as an island and everyone else is, remote, then there has to be some bridges built here through great communication, providing the necessary resources, training, education, and so on, to move your vision along. And a way that you do that is by number 6, releasing people, like as a whole person, mind, body, and most importantly, spirit. Right? And we have to lead the heart. We have to lead the spirit. And so you can only do that when you really see people as people, that they are vessels of varying opinions and experiences and values, faiths, right? That you learn to lead the whole person. And that's the only way that you're going to build these bridges, that you're going to be able to lead people with content conflict. And number 7, create a project culture of best fit. So again, if you have this infrastructure of projects, where your company is based on this project, that project, and building teams around it, then create a culture of best fit. And what I mean by that is that it becomes normal for people to present themselves and vet themselves for the opportunity to be on the team, right? Not just assigning people, saying, hey, we need an artist, we need a writer, we need, a project manager, and so on and so on, you know, but saying who is the best writer for this project? Who is the best accountant for this project? Who has the experiences and the insights that can really bring this full circle and make it everything it needs to be? Okay, so that's important. And when you create that culture, then you create this community of, hey, I don't think I'm best suited for this, but hey, Susie over here is. Michelle is. Kevin is. You go to those people and say, this is the kind of team we want to build around this project. Number 8, present opportunities, not ultimatums, people. Come on. We're all adults here. And I've always said nothing's mandatory unless someone's going to lose their job. So don't use that word loosely. Unless there are going to be consequences for something being mandatory, don't call it mandatory. That was always a pet peeve of mine, right? It's don't make it mandatory, don't call it mandatory if it's not mandatory. If you're not gonna back that up with some consequences. Same thing here, ultimatums. Don't present ultimatums unless you're like actively ready to act on them. Okay. Present opportunities. There's an opportunity for you to lead this team. There's an opportunity for you to be on this team and to be on this type of project. Here's an opportunity for you to expand your experiences. Here's an opportunity to bring your alternative view to a project to help us improve it and make it better. It's all about how you frame things and communicate things. And so again, present opportunities, not ultimatums. And number 9, don't create greater losses. Here it is, Netflix is already dealing with great financial losses, great losses to their workforce, and then they're still saying you can quit. Well, guess what? It's cheaper to keep them, Netflix. And that is my message to you leaders as well. It is cheaper to keep them and cultivate them, okay? You don't want the cost of recruiting, of the time and interviewing and training people and losing all the equitable knowledge and history that these current employees have. That is equity, and you don't want to throw that out. Okay. So don't add to your losses. Okay. Cultivate the people that you have and the resources that you currently have at your disposal or not disposal for use. Let's just say that because Netflix is too quick to want to dispose people, right? And then number 10, trust the process. Okay. And this is important. Is this going to happen overnight? No. Is this going to take more time and energy than you care to give? Probably, but it's worth it. It's worth it because by focusing in on these 10 steps, that is going to help you build a sense of community or membership and calling and engage people in their work. You're going to see so many greater benefits to your company culture than just dishing out ultimatums. So, okay, I hope that this is beneficial to everyone who's watching. Please continue to follow me for more tips and guides for leaders and everyone in the workplace. Because again, even if you're not a leader in a leadership role, you're not called a manager, you're not the director, supervisor, CEO, it doesn't matter. You still have influence. Okay. And so it's up to everyone to play their part and do it well in terms of leading people through change, leading people through content conflict, to really transform the company culture. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. And remember, in everything you do and with everything you have, love God and love people. Take care and God bless.